All right, Matt. The year was 2016. DC movies were still playing catch-up with Marvel and seemed to be following their lead. In this case, DC was trying to replicate the smash hit Guardians of the Galaxy with their misfit mashup of their own, Suicide Squad. It was a failure. Big time. However, if you ask most people who watched it to name one bright spot of the film, the unanimous answer would be Harley Quinn. This is not to say people were so delighted with her that they needed a spin-off, but here we are. Can Margot Robbie make this character work in her own film? Matt and I headed back to Gotham to find out. The film opens with some fun animation and quickly catches us up to speed on what has happened to Harley Quinn since we last saw her. The big news is she broke up with the Joker. This has major complications. Harley is now an open target for many people she has wronged over the years. As she weaves us through a ton of explanation of things, we also find out there is a diamond that everyone in Gotham wants. This leads to backstories on other characters, and eventually all of this comes together. Now the question here, Matt, is, was Birds of Prey fun enough to warrant its own spin-off?
Well, I mean, that's two different questions, really. And we got to preface this. We just saw this movie, still digesting.
Yes,
a little bit.
We came out of the screening and drove right here to record. This is true.
Was Birds of Prey fun enough to warrant its own spin-off is a bit of an oxymoron. Because I think what you're saying is, was Suicide Squad fun enough to warrant its own spin-off? And the answer is no. Like you mentioned already, I don't think any of us were like desperately waiting for this. But you know what? A little bit more Margot Robbie, who has really proven herself as one of the best actors working today, is not a bad thing. And excited to see her get back to this character, which is just a lot of fun. What they did here, again, aping Marvel, I hate to say it, but they're just going for Deadpool. They just ramped up the violence, gave it an R rating, slapped a bunch of F-bombs in there. But goddamn it, I had fun with it. Man, did I have fun with it. It was just like at a certain point while you're watching this movie, and I'm going to curse so you can bleep this out, you just have to say, fuck it. Just, you know what? Fuck it. The movie is what it is. It's unfolding before me, and it's just pure spectacle. That's what it is. It's technicolored violence, unabashedly gratuitous at times. I think that there's a twinge of girl power. I don't know how that's going to land, because are they genuine with the girl power, or are they reaching for it? I don't know. But this is a female cast kicking the crap out of men the entire movie. So if that's your thing, you're going to get plenty of it from Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, which is the full title.
It's a bit too much.
It's a bit too much. I think what happened here is DC was going to make a Birds of Prey movie, and then Harley Quinn shoehorned herself in. And I've seen so many, not reviews, but trailers and everything else that says that the movie is starring Harley Quinn. But it's not. It's not starring Harley Quinn. It's starring Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. But the character itself has taken on a life of its own, that she's the Deadpool of the DC universe.
I don't know if all of that is warranted to say that she's taken over so much so that it's Harley Quinn starring. No. I don't like the character that much. Myself, no. And
I love the character.
I would also say that it's interesting that you compare it to Deadpool. I did not think that actually going in. It was not.
How can you? Why not?
I don't know. I just thought that this was...
There's only a few R-rated superhero movies, so how could you not compare this to Deadpool?
I don't know. It didn't have that fourth wall breaking constantly. It did to a little bit, but not like Deadpool. I think that's a bit of a stretch to say it's. I think it's its own thing.
She's not exactly Deadpool. What I said is it's aping Deadpool. They're going, just like they did at Guardians of the Galaxy, they're going for that audience.
I don't know. I think you're saying... No, I really don't.
What are
just
you talking
because it's
about?
an R-rated, so now everything that's going to be R-rated and a comic book movie is only because Deadpool did first? Then no. Then what I'm saying is what your point saying that this could have been
Deadpool
girl
paved
power,
the road.
Girl power, and you said you think it was landing on that. I think a lot of it was girl power. I think that's really what it was going for. And a different type of girl power than, say, Wonder Woman, but that was, I think, the ultimate goal was to give it sort of, this misfit bunch of women,
right,
R-rated, and give it that spin on girl power.
I agree, and I applaud that. My comment was, I wonder if it will come across as genuine, and I hope it does, because I enjoyed the hell out of that aspect of it. And that's an interesting thing you bring up with Wonder Woman, because while we were walking back from the theater, I asked, do you think that this has the same representation for women that another superhero film had? And you said, well, Wonder Woman definitely probably holds that gold standard. And I don't know, because Wonder Woman is an ideal and she's a hero, but she's also kind of like the female Superman in a way, very buttoned up, very Girl Scout, very straight-laced. Whereas the Birds of Prey, each character, especially Harley Quinn, is unhinged. They're loose cannons. They are misfits. And I think that there's more representation there with more women can see themselves in those characters than a Wonder Woman who is kind of like this unachievable ideal. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Now, the other issue I wanted to bring up or point was that you had said, hey, F it, let's just have fun. And you had a lot of fun with the movie.
It's like a kung fu movie.
So when I was watching the movie, I had actually wrote down in my journal, I wrote down momentum, slow, momentum, slow, momentum, slow. And I think what I was hinting at was I was getting into the movie and some things clicked for me, like this is going to be fun. It opens up with a bang, literally, with Harley Quinn blowing up this
chemical plant,
right? And a lot of that and the way she's explaining it, it's like, this is going to be fun. I'm having fun with it. But for me, there were moments that didn't work as much too, where it was like, this is sort of slow, or it's not connecting with the audience. And sometimes you get the vibe of just sitting in the theater and
I agree with you.
Getting a vibe for what people are laughing with or how much they're into it. And this one really had a pacing issue of when we're into it and when we're not into it. It was like, yes, it's rolling.
Staccato.
And then all of a sudden, no. It was like they were playing with the gears in a stick shift car. I was down for it for a little while, and then there were points where I'm like, this isn't working. It was weird. But then it picked it back up and it was working again.
I agree. And ultimately I did think it sticks the landing. Here's the thing with Batman, anytime we visit Gotham, okay, I was trying to think of a good food analogy for this, because it's like a dish that can be made a bunch of different ways with a bunch of different flavors. You get a movie like Joker that's like very dark and heavy, right? And then you get a movie like Birds of Prey, which is bubbly, poppy, bright, and campy. Ewan McGregor's performance, he clearly was having fun with this role, but he does go very close to over the top. I think he's bubbling, just about to get over the top, but doesn't quite. And it's a good performance, but that's the campy side of Batman, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I find that nuance within Gotham fascinating, that we can have a Joker and a Harley Quinn within 12 months of one another, and they're both set in the same city that is so different. Mm-hmm. Isn't that weird?
Which is fun, because this is actually something that separates DC right now from Marvel.
That they can't get their shit together?
No, that they can do two different things and it still works to some degree. That's interesting.
I don't know
also.
If that's a plus or a
minus.
I
think it's a big time plus. I think Joker was the big plus for them, because they could show that they could just do a standalone Joker, even though we're about to get the Batman. Like, I myself don't need it all connected. I don't want it all connected. Just have fun with the characters and show me a good movie. I'm over the fact that every single movie has to tie in with something else. I don't need that. So
I don't need that either, but it was brilliant that it happened.
Besides Margot Robbie and Ewan McGregor, who we both say are highlights here, also playing the Huntress.
She was great.
Is Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And she's excellent. And it's not a name that I think is right up at the forefront where people always know exactly who this is. But I've been recognizing her more and more. And this, I think, is her best role. And what a great character. And there's a joke about her name and what her name was, and actually even the weapon that she uses. That was a recurring joke throughout the movie that completely landed for me. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I think it was more her deadpan delivery and her social awkwardness, which don't match her badass skills, that made the character so much fun. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't get a whole ton of screen time, but what she does get, especially like when she's actually talking, is very effective.
There's also an egg sandwich at play here, and this is another one where this worked for me. This egg sandwich at the very beginning and how enthused Harley Quinn is to get this egg sandwich.
Oh, I feel the same way she does about a good bacon, egg, and cheese.
I mean, they got these close-ups of the actual breakfast sandwich being made and then handed to
Did you get
her.
hungry?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude.
Well, I was thinking, I love because it happens after a scene of her being out partying. And I think we all can relate to one of those. You have one of those late nights and you want that breakfast sandwich in the morning. And it was just perfect. And how much she really wants to eat this thing, and there's a chase element to it.
Yeah.
All of that, again, worked.
It was
I loved
fun.
it.
It was fun.
But there were also times in the movie where some of these jokes didn't go anywhere for me. It was like, this isn't really working. And one element that I did want to highlight that didn't work overall was the constant fight scenes with loud music playing. It was almost like a beat they went to time after time again. So if it was Harley Quinn, you had the same exact thing happen each time where all of a sudden she's surrounded by a bunch of guys or villains or somebody that's looking to try to kill her, and all of a sudden she has a weapon and the music starts playing, and then we get every once in a while some slow-mo and some really cool action scenes.
Yeah.
That's great to do once. Twice is a stretch. 3-4 times that probably happened in the movie.
This is a lot of the movie.
It's too much.
There were extended action sequences here where I'm like, okay, that's exactly where I said F it in my mind, because I'm like, oh, it's just a kung fu movie. It's a kung fu movie with some comedy interlaced, which I guess is what all kung fu movies do. That's what this is. If you're a fan of martial arts movies and you'd like to see DC characters in a martial arts movie, especially female DC characters kicking ass, then this is your movie. And it's funny. It's pretty good.
So we get to how many Jaws here, Matt K?
That's a difficult question, man, because in all honesty, I don't want to elevate this movie too much. There are some serious problems here. I don't want to make light of the fact that there's some real violence. They don't pull any punches.
And one other element, actually, before you get to the Jaws.
Yeah, please.
Was this idea that they do this rewind in the film where basically
I didn't like that.
They get to one spot in the plot and then you're completely confused as a viewer. You're like, what is going on? And then what they do is this rewind to explain how they got to that spot in the plot. They do it once, and I thought that was clever, but they actually do it a second and maybe even a third time where they do that sort of rewind element like, we'll explain her in a second.
Well, I guess that's Harley's disjointed mind at work. Well, you know what I did like? As long as we're adding extra thoughts here, Harley Harley is kind of an idiot, right? Or she's played as that, but she's not. She's a psychiatrist with a PhD. And there are times when, she can kick ass. Yeah, she's the Joker's ex-girlfriend, but she's also a brilliant scientist and a brilliant doctor. And she actually that comes across a few times to her advantage while she's in these situations. Mm-hmm. I liked that they wove that in because she doesn't get enough of that in the comics or even the original Paul Dini cartoons.
One thing I am sick and tired of already with these comic book movies, be it one of these group comics where you got multiple people coming together like we do in Birds of Prey, or even when it's an origin story, I can't stand where the name of the group or the name of the hero is announced at the end. It's so tiresome. They've done this in numerous occasions. I mean, this is at least the 8th time where we get to the end of the film and then they say it's whatever it would be. You know, I'm just going to say Iron Man, but let's just say whatever the person's going to be.
That's an origin story, man.
Like, come on. It's just a little tiring. But
I guess so.
All right, on to the Jaws here, Matt K. How many Jaws for Birds of Prey?
Okay, Birds of Prey is a 2.5 Jaw movie. It's a little better than a middle of the roader, and that's about it. That's where it lands. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. This is probably not going to be something we're talking about at the end of the year, but go see it. It was enjoyable.
I would say it is a middle of the roader as I go 2 Jaws. So didn't like it quite as much as you, but I didn't hate it, and I was very worried. I had very low expectations. I thought this could just be actually painful to sit through, but it wasn't.
Yeah, so they pull it off. I was really curious how they were gonna, but they do.
Do you have a movie poster quote?
Actually, I do. Harley Quinn shows her rainbow is short a few Skittles in Birds of Prey.
Decent, but I'm gonna one up you this week.
Okay, let's.
All right,
I'll
here
be
it
the
is.
judge of that.
Movie poster. You're picturing it, right? And right across it, Rosie Perez is back.
Actually, that is pretty good. We didn't mention Rosie Perez at all.
No, but we did in my movie poster quote. She is back. Rosie Perez. I have waited 20 years for this. Yes. RP, man. RP is back.
I'm a big fan. I don't think it's been 20 years. She's had some appearances here and there, but this was a good starring vehicle for her.
Good stuff. All right. 2 Jaws, 2.5 Jaws for Birds of Prey. There you go.